Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another You Be the Behavior Consultant. We're just about closing out the year, and I thought it'd be a great topic to talk about just what's happened last year, if we've had a good year of growth, and maybe to do some looking at the data to kind of see if we are better trainers today than we were yesterday. So, thank you for joining me. I know it's still kind of the holidays, so people may be busy, but you can always watch the replay if you're not able to join me live. So let's go ahead and get into it. We are here for You Be the Behavior Consultant, a live stream I try to do most Mondays, and this is how it works. I have a topic for discussion. I have a few questions to prompt your participation. I think this would be a fun one for people to participate in if you're here to join us. I do have some video examples, and of course, we're going to recap it all at the end. All right. So here is our topic for this week: better animal trainers than yesterday, a year of perseverance and growth. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that really had me thinking about this. You know, when you look back on 2025, it was a tough year in a lot of ways, but maybe if you look back on your own training, you can find some way to say, hey, I'm a better trainer than I was last year. And maybe there were some challenges you faced that maybe sparked your training to become a little bit better. Maybe they helped you identify areas of growth or helped you seek clarity on something or find some new skills. So that's kind of the stuff I want you to think about as we're looking at this. And then, of course, as we're looking into next year, which is just around the corner, is there anything that you really want to work on? Do you have some specific goals that you would like to master? Maybe some concepts you really want to learn about, some practical application skills that you're really excited to get into your repertoire. So maybe think about those things as we get into this discussion. Oh, great. I see we've got some of our regulars here. That makes me super happy. I hope you'll join in on this discussion because there's a lot to really think about. So first I wanted to talk about why reflection matters in animal training. And as I was putting this together, it really all started like coming together for me, how important it was to do this. Because I think while we're in the middle of it, while we're doing this, while we're going through the year, the progress isn't always obvious, right? And lots of happy New Year's and happy holidays from people. And so sometimes this reflection will help you kind of counter that burnout. Like, I think maybe a lot of us felt this way, that you were working really hard and maybe it's hard to keep up and, are you doing enough? But I think as we go through this, you're going to start to see the data and go, oh my gosh, maybe I did do a lot. And so I think what we're going to see is that you really are capable of achieving a lot and also overcoming a lot. Because as I was saying earlier, we did have hurdles to overcome in this year. And in some ways, some of those hurdles might have inspired you to do some really cool things. And that's one of the things that I definitely experienced this year. Anetta says, yes, I want to get more experience with degrees of freedom. Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of those areas that we are still getting our feet wet with and figuring out ways to really apply it in real life. I think we're getting better at understanding the concept, but the application, seeing how we can do it is really interesting. So I think asking that question, am I a better trainer today than I was yesterday, is really kind of the heart of this all. And that can really be revealing when we look at the numbers, when we look at the data. And how often do we actually do data collection on this? I think I'm in sort of a unique position because I have this platform. There's actually numbers I can look at. And we're going to kind of look at a little bit of that today and also relate that to the work that you've done so that maybe you can see some data for yourself about the work that you've been putting in. So again, I do want to point out that we did have some challenges this year, right? 2025 wasn't always easy for people for a whole bunch of reasons that we probably don't need to go into all the details, but progress still happened, and that's what we're going to look at. And, if you feel like you want to share some of the challenges in the chat, feel free to do so. But I think one of the ways that growth occurs is when we identify some of those challenges and instead of saying, I can't because there's a challenge, we do just like we do in animal training. We say, oh, you know what? That's a negative reinforcement contingency. How am I going to address that so that I can get to the positive reinforcement, right? And so what I would like to do in this live stream is really look at the evidence that meaningful work can continue even when those bumpy roads, those negative reinforcement contingencies are in place. And sometimes they even help us get to some of these goals that we hope to get to sometimes. So here we go. We're going to dive into that. So first of all, in Animal Training Fundamentals, some of the things we did is we added some new courses to the program, and some of those were really inspired by the things that were challenging for people, training animals. One of them was the constructional approach to compassionate animal training. Now, that wasn't so much because of a negative reinforcement contingency, but I think more because there's a lot of discussion about compassion and what that means, and we're going to get into another thing that was very focused on compassion in a moment here. But I think building animal training programs, I think that in general is one of those, quote, negative reinforcement contingencies out there for people. A lot of people struggle with, how do I structure my animal training program? How do I get that program, organized and moving forward and getting momentum? And so building that course was really inspired by that, by the people who are looking for solutions to that. And then the digital training log was also inspired by trying to find better ways of doing our data tracking. And I think even that particular course for me, I still have some things that I want to refine on that. So I'm going to go back to that one and do some more to that. So maybe some of you completed those courses this year as part of your own professional development and part of your professional growth. And I think one of the biggest things that so many of you have done is you participated in our live streams, our deep dives on, these are really, talk about specific learning on so many hot topics. And so many of these topics were inspired by whether it was things that I really wanted to learn more about or conversations that we had in our tower talks. The one about genuine choice there that I have at the top there, that came up because, I had done a course on genuine choice like the year before or maybe even 2 years before. But the question that kept coming up was like, I don't really get what it looks like. And there were lots of questions. And I thought, we need to take an even deeper dive on this. And then the thing about control, that's another one of those ones that there was just so much kind of misinformation going around about that. So that one was really inspired by things out there in our community. And same with the nonlinear contingency analysis. That was one where I felt like I needed to understand this better. I want to take the deep dive so that I understand it better. And then hopefully that is something that by sharing it, it will help other people as well, because I knew I wasn't quite there yet. And then one that was really popular was the one about artificial intelligence. People seem to really enjoy that one. And again, I think we could go even further on that topic now because there's even more discussions to be had on that topic. One that was inspired by one of our tower talks was matching caregivers and animals to help build those training skills. So that one came directly out of the things that members were seeking. And the training hacks, that's all about what do you do when there's limited time, limited resources, we don't have enough people. How do we get to our training goals when we're in those situations? Training animals to recall, that was a request straight from our members. And then, of course, injection training, breaking down, that we see as something that can happen quite frequently when we're sort of relying on some of those strategies that were our traditional approaches. And now that we're learning more about different approaches to addressing fear responses, we have some better tools and how to address some of those negative reinforcement contingencies. And so we did a really great deep dive on that. And so you may want to ask yourself just how many, I don't have them all listed here, obviously, how many of these live streams did you actually participate in or go back and watch the recordings? Because you may realize that you watched a lot of them. And I know that you did because I have the data, and I'm going to share that with you when we get to the end here. I thought I'd share a little video clip of just some snippets from some of these just to give you a little reminder of some of the topics that we talked about. So let me share that with you real quick. I think another really important thing about having genuine choice is it actually mitigates fear, frustration, and aggression. So if the animal has only one option and it really, really wants that good thing that you're offering, but that's the only way to get it, it might be showing fear responses because there's no other way to get it. So it's like, oh, I'm scared, but like, okay, I'll deal with it. Like, say, for example, you've got an animal that is afraid to eat food from somebody's hand, but it's the only way to get it, and it's like, ugh, I'm afraid. If it could get that same food someplace else, it might do that. Or if it was frustrated because it doesn't understand what you're asking it to do, and so we see all this frustration while it's trying to figure out what you're asking it to do because it has only one way to get that. And same thing with an aggressive response. So again, if we have an animal that would prefer to drive that person away, but it's being coerced into taking the food from that person, then we might get that aggressive response. Same thing if it didn't understand something and it finally gets frustrated and shows some aggressive behavior. So Skinner defined control in a way that can sometimes be difficult for us to grasp because we so much want to think that control comes from within us and that we have free will. But he really described behavior as always being under environmental control, that it's a relationship between behavior and its consequences. So I think while the ABC model gives us a simple framework that's important to helping us maybe get started in some of our understandings, it may help us, or it may cause us to overlook sort of the full context. So many behaviors are not maintained by just what happens before and after. So sometimes we need this tool that helps us analyze this larger system of behavioral options available to the animal. And that's really what nonlinear contingency analysis helped me see. And man, it was eye-opening. What if the giraffe moved away from the target like it was afraid of it? What would you do then?
Great follow-up, and a really important one. If the giraffe emits behavior like backing away, shifting its weight, or walking off when the target appears, that suggests the target is functioning as an aversive stimulus. In that case, I wouldn't try to counter that with more positive reinforcement or lure the giraffe toward it. Instead, I'd use the giraffe's avoidance behavior itself as information. It's telling us that increased distance from the target is reinforcing. So then, I'd shape approach behavior using negative reinforcement. You could start by presenting the target at a distance where the giraffe notices it but doesn't leave. Then, if the giraffe orients toward it or takes a step in its direction, you remove the target, and that removal reinforces the behavior. Over time, you can gradually decrease the distance and reinforce smaller approach approximations, always watching the giraffe's body language to adjust your pace. This gives the giraffe degrees of freedom.
I think so if you missed any of those, we just log into animaltrainingfundamentals.com and just search a keyword and it'll bring up those live streams and you can go back and watch them again. I watch them again a lot of times. All right, so some other cool things we did is our global online animal training series, and we had some guest speakers talking about training bush dogs and also solving some challenges with an emu. So maybe some of you attended those, and again, those are available. All you have to do is search keywords and you can go back and watch those. I didn't schedule as many this last year, hoping to get some more on the calendar for 2026. So again, if there's some topics you're really interested in, let me know. But those were super fun, and it's always a pleasure having members and clients and colleagues present some of their work in our program. And then another thing that has been really significant is providing guided learning in our program. So one of the things that a lot of our members have been taking part in is the credentialing program, which has these different levels of roadmaps, which is basically bundles of courses that are sort of catered towards where you might be in your animal training journey. And so basically you take specific courses and then you can move on to another level if you want. And then once you've completed that, you can earn a badge. Well, you can get a badge for each course along the way, but then you can get a badge that shows you've completed that bundle of courses, which is really awesome to show your supervisor, or if you're in school, you can show a professor, or you can, if the trade organization you're working with is collecting CEUs, you can use that to also demonstrate that you've done these courses. We also put in a brand new series of courses for the constructional approach. And so that one is pretty cool because it's all the courses organized that are related to the constructional approach. And it's pretty in depth for those of you that are interested in learning more about that. And then there's also a fluency quiz at the end to make sure you really have understood the content that you've been studying. And then that building animal training programs that thrive, it started with that one course, and then we expanded it into a whole series of courses so that you could really put a lot of work into building an animal training program. So all the little nuances, all the little details, so that you can really build an animal training program that thrives. So there's a whole series of that as well. So my question for you is, did you earn some credentials? Did you get some badges this year? And I know that you did, and we're going to talk about those numbers near the end here as we get closer to the end. Another really significant thing that happened this year was that Annetta and I published this paper about the constructional approach. And again, this is one of those things where, it seemed overwhelming at the time, but it was also one of those things that was an opportunity, right? So the call for papers went out, and it was really for a special issue that had to do with zoo animal welfare. And so it seemed like such a good fit. And so it was kind of one of those things where you're like, gosh, do I have time to write a paper? But at the same time, do you miss that opportunity? And, anybody who knows anything about it, animal training, you kind of are like, well, we can't miss that opportunity. So we took the opportunity, and it was a project that was sort of, you worked on it when you had the time, knowing there was a specific deadline to submit. And of course, there's things like, you want people to review it and give you feedback. So you really have to kind of time all that. And there was a lot of revisions going on, and, until we finally got to the place where we were ready to submit. And then even once you do submit, there's a lot of things that have to be done. But, we did it. and I'm really, really pleased with how it's been received. I just looked at the statistics this morning, and the numbers are really good. I mean, it's been getting, I think we're at like 3,700 views in just it only being out less than 2 months, which is, really quite, fantastic. And for it's part of a special issue, but it's also part of a bigger issue. And the bigger issue has 167 papers in it, and it's the third most viewed paper in the 167 papers in that issue. So that's really exciting that it's getting that much viewing, and within that special issue, or within the regular issue, there's a lot of papers that are related to dogs and cats, which I think in general get a lot more attention than a zoo focused paper. So that's really exciting. And so, if you haven't read the paper, gosh, I sure encourage you to go check it out. We tried to, yeah, so we're getting some yays there. Yeah, it's really exciting because I think it really brings together science, but also has lots of examples of case studies so that you can see the practical application. So you get both things, so especially if the constructional approach is something that you feel like, oh, this is, kind of a new thing to me. I don't really get where it fits in this world of animal training. Hopefully this gives you more of the big picture and kind of brings it all together, makes it a little bit easier to understand. One of the things that we tried to do to help make it more accessible for people is we did do a live stream on it, explaining more, about why we did it, why we felt like we were good people to write the paper, how we thought it would benefit our community. And then we also made some AI tools to help maybe explain some of the concepts to, again, make it more accessible, because I think for us, the whole thing is we just have both really benefited from this information, and we feel like the animals and the people that we work with have really benefited from this information. And the whole thing is we just want everyone else to enjoy the benefits of this information. And so these AI tools have also helped make that more accessible. So I'm just going to share one of those AI tools that we made. Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. What great exposure. Yeah, we were really excited about it as well. So I'm going to share one of those AI tools that we made, so that you can see one of those. And of course, there's more on the website if you want to check those out. But here's just one of those AI tools again, if you missed it from the live stream.
Welcome to our training on applying the scientific principle of genuine choice in animal training. This principle is vital for promoting animal well-being and facilitating uncoerced participation. Imagine crossing a river. If there's only one shaky log, you're coerced. But if there's a bridge, a boat, and a log, you have genuine choice, minimizing distress and allowing you to communicate preferences. Step 1. Identify the critical consequence maintaining observed behaviors. Is the animal moving towards something it likes? Or is it moving away from something it dislikes? Step 2. Ensure the animal has already learned the behaviors and can do them under the current conditions. Step 3. Offer multiple behaviors to access the same critical consequence. This is about increasing an animal's degrees of freedom, as described by Israel Gold-Diamond. Step 4. Verify that the available options provide genuinely equivalent reinforcing outcomes under current conditions. Step 5. Monitor progress and use animal choices as feedback to adjust training criteria as needed. Now let's explore simple applications of genuine choice that enhance animal welfare and communication. The sanctuary station. A crate or a station can be a readily available location where an animal receives immediate reinforcement. It's a safe zone they can go to at any time without being cued when they're confused or need a break, providing crucial feedback to trainers. The choice cue is a trained behavior that allows the animal to decide which behavior it wants to do. For example, a single cue can mean the animal can present its left or right ear for examination. The opt-out exit provides a clear way for an animal to signal disengagement, ensuring uncoerced participation by providing the same reinforcement elsewhere in the habitat. The animal can leave the training session to access the same reinforcer at any time. The no button is a specifically trained behavior that is always available during training. The animal can use it to opt out without missing out on reinforcement. This may be touching a target, ringing a bell, or another easily trained and accessible behavior that clearly signals the animal chooses the other behavior in that moment. The comfort catalog is a group of many calm behaviors that can be identified and reinforced when distance is the outcome animals are seeking. This is often helpful when addressing fear and/or aggressive responses. Providing alternate feeders can provide genuine choice when working with multiple animals and food as a reinforcer. This arrangement can help mitigate competition, aggression, or distress. Offered behaviors are usually ones that have been highly reinforced. If they are observed frequently during training, rather than ignoring them, the trainer reinforces them, recognizing them as valuable communication to refine training procedures. Genuine choice is essential for optimal animal welfare, fostering communication, mitigating distress, and achieving training goals more effectively than coercive methods. These are just a few ways to apply genuine choice in animal training. Follow the basic steps to develop your own creative applications to enhance animal welfare and well-being. Discover more courses about genuine choice and the constructional approach at animaltrainingfundamentals.com.
So hopefully you got a chance to download that paper or read that paper or spend some time with it. And again, it's freely available. You don't have to pay for it. And there are some additional resources to help you explore it if you feel like, oh, that's a long read. Okay, other things that happened. We had some hands-on learning and on-site workshops that were conducted this year. So we had the Beyond Compliance Assessing Assent in Animal Training, Please Go Away, the Power of Using Distance as a Reinforcer. This was a new one this year. Reinforcers revealed what animals want and how can we tell. And then the Trailblazing Trainers, which is more like an introduction to animal training that was on site in Poland. So these were conducted at different places around the world, and so some of you may have been participants in these in-person live workshops. So I do think, do I have a video? I do have a video of one of the this was actually the Trailblazing Trainers workshop that we did in Poland. So you just get a little taste of some folks getting their feet wet doing some training. And again, this particular workshop is an introduction to training. So, and it's literally just 1 day. So folks get just a little bit of information and then they get to go practice a little bit with animals. And so you'll get to see folks just doing some, very, like target training, station training, things like that. So some early stuff, and they just get like an hour or so to train. So, but it's kind of fun to see. And this was at in in Poland. So I'll let you watch that.
Right? Yes, there you go.
Okay. There's so many things we could talk about with all that. We had so much fun, and but that could take a whole nother live stream. All right. So some other really great live events that happened this year that you may have been there for was the first off I have to mention is the IAZA Academy Animal Training Seminar. We called it EATS for short. And so this was something that had been in planning for quite a long time. It was the first seminar that was more like an advanced seminar that was hosted by the IAZA Academy, so European Association of Zoos and Aquarium, and the Animal Training Working Group was really responsible for bringing this all together. And Joe Lang and Paul Andronis were the special invited keynote speakers, and all these people were brought together, or were at the Zoological Society at London, so at London Zoo, and it was limited to 100 people on site, but there was also an online option, so people could attend some the lectures online. And then there was even a special presentation of some videos of training that Jim Mackey presented. So even though people who were online couldn't go out into the park and see the live training demos, he still gave them some videos of some of the training work that they do at the zoo. So that was pretty cool. And that was really, spectacular. That was just such an amazing experience. And of course, the goal is to do this every other year, and again, sort of bring these more advanced topics every other year for those people that really have a special interest in training, so that we can keep, progressing the industry forward. So that was a really exciting event. And then all these other things that are listed here also included really important animal training content. So at the annual conference for IAZA as well, we mentioned some of those workshops that were presented as well as presentations. ZAA, Zoological Association. Oh yeah, and Annetta just mentioned, and you can still buy access to the presentations in the proceedings. So you can see recordings of all those things that I just talked about. If you go, and I can put I think I have the link. Yeah, I do have the link. I can make the link available. So yeah, you can still get all that stuff, which is pretty cool. EATS 2025, yes. Yes, and so ZAA, Zoological Association of America, the semi-annual and annual conferences. We did the Ascent workshop there. We did a feedback workshop at the semi-annual. The annual conference, there were some presentations, and then we also had a really big presence. I think I have some pictures of it at the annual conference for the training committee. Annette and I both spoke at the Association of Behavior Analysis International. So that was really cool to have such a great representation of zoo animal training there. I just recently spoke at the second annual Constructional Approach Conference. So that was really, that for me, I think one of the things that was really great about that, and I got to see some of your names there attending, which was fantastic. What I loved about that conference was the combination of different communities. So you really got to see how all the work that these different communities are doing really overlap with each other. And so it's really validating, if that makes sense. So, when you see somebody like me talking about how we deal with, a fear response, and then you see somebody working with a child in a hospital, and somebody else, working with another individual, a child in the home, or, somebody else, or and Nawab sharing some really fantastic science that he's been exploring, and he also works with human learners, so it all connects, and it just really validates the information that we're sharing and learning, and how we work in our different communities and how we support each other. And so again, it just makes it feel like, wow, we're really doing something amazing here that's helping everybody, not just our own learners. It's really a huge movement, so it's really special. And again, it takes it away, for me, what it does is it takes it away from the guru thing, right? It's not like some person's, like, oh, I own this and I'm teaching you this. It's just everybody's information, and they're just sharing it, how it works in their community. So that's one of the things that I thought was really special about that. Annetta and I and Jim Mackey also got to share this at European Association of Aquatic Mammals. And then I was also lucky to participate in the Small Mammal and Ambassador Symposium at Frank Buck Zoo. So some of you may have been a participant in these educational opportunities. And again, fantastic, right? These are wonderful opportunities to continue with that growth. I think I'm going to share this video and keep talking over it because there's no audio, but these are just some photos from the event in London. And again, the in-person portion was limited to only 100 people, mainly because of the training demos and how the logistics of trying to move 100 people around to different things. That's the Origin of Species book by Darwin that they have at their library at London Zoo. And we also were able to take a visit to Whipsnade Zoo, which is a sister zoo to London Zoo. So we got to see some training there, and it was just a beautiful, gorgeous day walking around outside in London. And again, it was a wonderful opportunity for the Animal Training Working Group to come together and coordinate this event and have all these people who are just super enthusiastic about animal training get together and really expand their horizons. So it, again, just a really wonderful opportunity, and really looking forward to the opportunity to do it again. Not this coming year, but the year after. So we'll definitely keep you posted when we know the dates for that. And this is Whipsnade, these pictures at the end here. And of course, had to take a visit to the bars. All right, I think that's the end of this video. Yeah, okay. Okay, so what else do we have here? So another thing I wanted to talk about was, like I was saying about trade organizations, is one thing I think that ties in with all this is what I would consider service to the field, and how does what we do contribute to the field, and contributing to trade organizations. Oh, in Copenhagen. So Annetta is making sure you all know that in 2027, the IAZA Animal Training Symposium or seminar will be in 2027 in Copenhagen. So start planning. And I'm assuming it's probably going to be the same time of year, right? We're shooting for like May or June. So you don't have to wear your winter clothes for people like me who don't do well in the cold weather. Yeah, my guess is we'll probably be shooting for that time of year again, so we don't conflict with other events that tend to happen. It's always hard to find the right time of year, but I think that'll probably be when it is again. But yeah, so and as you guys all know, a lot of people here are very familiar with Annetta, and they do so many wonderful training things there. So I have a feeling we'll get to see lots of great training demos, as well as have some great speakers there to keep us moving forward with our animal training. So mark your calendars, or at least pencil it in somewhere around that time. All right, so back to our trade organizations here. So again, I think they're very important in terms of, helping shape the field and the directions that we're going. So right now, my roles include being an advisor to the Animal Training Working Group, and so having some participation in that seminar we just talked about, and also the annual conference, participating in workshops and presentations. And so I do try to be there when I can. So far, I've been able to attend. I hope that continues in the future. And then for ZAA, I'm a co-chair of the Animal Training Committee. So a lot of that work for me is kind of administrative and organizational. I do things like prepare meeting agendas and write the minutes and organize the meetings and things like that. But for me, one of the things that I spearheaded this year was creating a glossary of animal training terms. And while we're talking about that, I can play my little video that promotes that. It is a member's benefit, so you do have to be a member to get that. But if you know your way around the base camp, it is in the folder of members resources that comes from the Animal Training Committee. So you do get access to that if you're a member. And then to kind of support that, I created an article about technical jargon versus plain language and the benefits of both, and and the disadvantages of both as well, that appeared in the magazine. So one of the initiatives of this committee is to have an article in every issue of their magazine, which comes out every quarter. And so we have sort of a column called Behavior Buzz, and so we try to put an article in every one of those. The committee doesn't have to write that article. We just try to source it and get it in there, and that article was meant to support this release of this glossary. We've also worked really hard to help the organization know this committee exists and what resources they have provided, because it's a relatively new committee. A lot of our initial work was just putting together the parameters of how the committee operates, and so that everybody knew, what are the parameters, what will we do, what won't we do, and so all those things were put in place the first 6 months, and then we started working on producing content, and we've been pretty consistent with that, creating some animal training guidelines and more on the horizon, which aren't quite ready to announce, but we continue with that work. And you can see a little picture of our booth there. That was a big thing we did at the just most recent conference, where we shared a lot of the work that we've done, got more feedback from members. We had a really well-attended open committee meeting where we had lots of people show up, which was really exciting. That kind of let us know that a lot of people are really interested in animal training from ZAA, and so really working towards trying to give more to those folks, more of what they want, what they're interested in. So that's really cool. So maybe you're involved in a trade organization, and maybe you're contributing in some way, or even learning from those trade organizations. So that may be another way that you are pretty active, and maybe didn't even think to count it, but it counts. So we've already covered quite a few things, and so I thought what I'd kind of go back to now is these numbers, because one of the things that I can do in my program, and in some of these, this isn't even probably quantifying everything, but I can look at like how much content was created just in like coursework in animal training fundamentals. And so we had 40 new educational courses or content pieces created just this year. And this was crazy. When I was counting how many badges people requested, there was almost 1,000 badges requested and awarded. That's insane. So that means at least 1,000 courses were taken and completed. Now, that's just the people who requested badges. There are probably courses that people took and they didn't request a badge, and that doesn't even count the people who were just watching on YouTube that didn't, before they went into the membership program. So that's an insane amount of people learning. That's crazy. That's fantastic. I mean, I feel like, big pat on the back to all of you who did all that work. That's crazy. That's talk about perseverance and growth. That's it right there. We had, in terms of opportunities to do interactive online events. We had 50, at least 50 of those. So those are our live streams and our tower talks that people could participate in. So you had 50 opportunities to, get together and chat and talk about animal training. And that's just through us, so that's not, counting the workshops that you could have attended or the live events that we talked about, like the EATS event or coming to conferences and things like that. So, that's the data that I counted. That's a massive amount of professional development and connection in 1 year. So I guess when I, look back, and for me that was like so eye-opening when I started doing this and putting this all together. I was like, holy cow, that's amazing. And again, when you look back at this year, I think, you know, I know that there were times when I felt like, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do and I'm scrambling, or, how will I get this done? Or, there's no way that I'm doing this or that. And then you look back and you go, oh my gosh, we did that. I mean, that's amazing. And you were a part of that. I mean, I look at some of the names here and I know, many of you were at a lot of these things. So, I mean, I feel like you should be really, really proud of yourself. And especially like the badges, I know how, I see, and just so you guys know, I am the one who looks at every single one of those. I do look at them and approve them, and I read your comments. So I do see, what you have to say about those things. And I do read your feedback and take that into consideration when, it's looking to build the next content, or, did that work for you? What did you like about that? And or what you didn't like. So it's really important what you have to say. So that kind of leads me into what's next, what's on the horizon for 2026. So I will say there, since I've been off the road for a little bit here, I have been working on some new things for the platform. I'm not going to announce them right now. I'm going to wait a little bit and tell you about them soon. I would say keep your eye out on emails if you're on my mailing list. And if you're not, if on YouTube, you'll see a link where it says to join my mailing list. And also social media. I'll post it on social media. But I've got some really cool features that I've been working on that I'm going to announce pretty soon. So, and I think they're pretty unique. I haven't seen them elsewhere. So those are coming soon. Well, I mean, if you're already a member, you could probably find them, but they're ready to go. But I'm going to announce them, and then we've already got special events lined up for next year so that you could attend in person. And they're not ready for announcement just yet. So again, you're going to have to keep an eye out on your emails and the socials to find out about them and get yourself signed up if you're able to attend something live and in person. But these are some special events. These will not, these are some special ones. I can't tell you more just yet, but definitely some special events lined up for next year that I'm already aware of. There may be more coming, but there's certainly a few already lined up. And then last I heard, we have Annette and I have a textbook chapter that's going to be published in spring of 2026. I haven't heard more about that yet, but that should be coming soon. So those are all just a few things that are coming, and I know there will be more, but those are just a few that I wanted to let you know that we're really excited about. But I would also like to hear from you, and it always makes it better if there is content that's coming out that is really targeted towards what you need and what you'd like to learn about. And I know sometimes we don't know, sometimes we're just like, yeah, whatever. But if there are specific things that you feel like, hey, I could use some help with this, that makes it easier for me, and it also is more helpful to you. So another thing that will happen with this live stream is I'll put a link where this live stream lives to a poll that you can take. It's just a Google form where you can just tick off things that you think you would like to learn more about. There's also an option for you to fill in more details, if you would rather write something out as opposed to tick the boxes. It's optional. You don't have to, tick off anything if you don't want to. But it's an opportunity for you to give some feedback and say, cool, this is what I want. And then, you get exactly what you want. That's always a great way to learn more, right? Okay, so again, I'm impressed as heck with the numbers. Again, seeing all the work that everybody has done, again in a year that, like, definitely had some bumpy roads, or a bumpy road on it, and you guys did a whole lot of cool stuff. So let me take us to the recap here. Reflecting on 2025 reveals a year defined by resilience and remarkable growth. While the road was sometimes bumpy, looking back allows us to answer the most important question: am I a better trainer today than I was yesterday? And I think the answer is a resounding yes. Taking time to reflect allows us to see what's often invisible day to day, how much capability has been built, how perspectives have shifted, and how skills have expanded. Across courses, live streams, workshops, publications, and live events, the focus remained consistent, supporting animal trainers in making thoughtful, evidence-based decisions that improve both outcomes and welfare. As we look ahead to 2026, this reflection offers reassurance. And if 2025 taught us anything, it's that meaningful progress is built by understanding the conditions we're working within and responding thoughtfully, even when it's challenging. And those challenges can sometimes inspire our accomplishments. They get us, they help us figure out what we need to do next. There's every reason to feel proud of what's been accomplished and optimistic about what's still to come. And I think the numbers do speak for themselves. Roughly, actually 40 new content pieces, created nearly 1,000 badges earned by members, and over 50 live interactive events. That's huge. These metrics represent thousands of hours of dedication to animal welfare. As we look toward 2026, we can be proud of this foundation. We have proven that even in challenging times, we are capable of great things. I mean, I really mean that sincerely. When I looked at all that, I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So it was really inspiring to me to reflect back on that. As I was putting this together, I was like, oh, this is just going to be running off a list. But then I was like, oh my gosh, look at this data. So some of the things we talked about, if you want to look at some of these things that roadmap, that course series about the constructional approach. It has 25 foundational courses, a fluency quiz, and a certificate if you pass that fluency quiz. Extra literature, references, supplemental resources, additional learning opportunities. If you want to check out our paper, there's an AI roadmap. Actually, if you just go to animaltrainingfundamentals.com/paper, that'll kind of give you, kind of a little sneak peek of that, and how you can learn more about that. Actually, now that I think about it, it's right here. I knew I had made another little slide about that. So that's a great way to kind of and you can also get the link to download the paper there if you want an easy way to get the link. And it'll give you a couple samples of those AI videos, like the one we just watched about genuine choice. So if you liked what you were hearing today, here is the citation for that. We always appreciate attribution. And I did talk about the credentialing program, where we have the different levels that you can follow. And again, well, I'm not going to say more about that. But we do have the training credentials. You'll hear more announcements about that coming soon. If you also want to support us, we do have some merchandise that you can check out that has some cool stuff. We also have, what else? Well, let's just take you to this. You can join animaltrainingfundamentals.com. We have 3 options. We have the monthly individual, which you can cancel at any time. Annual individual, which is a 20% savings. And then our best deal is the facility annual, where you can have up to 200 sub accounts. And so that's our ways to join and get all the whistles and bells that I talked about. You get the access to the credentialing program. You can get all the, this fluency certificate. You can get the badges, all that great stuff. If you are looking for something a little bit less fancy, we do have the YouTube membership, which basically gets you access to certain videos. All right. There you go. That is it. That is everything for this week. I hope you liked that reflection. Like I said, I felt for me it was very enlightening and eye-opening. When I first started putting it together, I wasn't expecting quite the outcome that I got, but yeah, I thought, man, that was really cool to see all the work that people have done. And again, in a year that I think was kind of challenging. So, but those challenges also helped us rise to the occasion sometimes. So, again, good job, everybody. Work well done. And we'll see what happens next year. I hope that there'll be some other really exciting accomplishments, and we'll get to maybe see those numbers be even higher, especially on the badges earned and the credentials earned. Just again, showing people really excited and enthusiastic about things. And please do give me your feedback on what you want to learn about, and that'll help me build content that's really targeted towards the kinds of things that are interesting to you. All right. So, oh, thanks, Al. That was very nice. Congratulations on a very successful 2025, he says. Well, like I said, I think we were just on a mission for some reason. I don't know what was keeping us going, but there was a lot of things that just seemed like they needed to be done, and I guess we did them. So looking forward to next year in many ways in terms of some of the things that we've already got scheduled and planned and in the works, and I'm excited to share them with you. So like I said, just keep an eye out on those emails. Check your junk folder. Sometimes things go to spam and people miss them, but the email thing is where I really try to directly tell you what's coming up and what's next. Sometimes I put the same things in several emails in case people miss those announcements, but I feel like it's I really want you guys to know about the cool things coming up. All right, with that, I think that's our last live stream for this year, and I'll look forward to seeing all of you next year for our next event. And Netta says, yes, so much great stuff. Thank you for expanding our knowledge constantly. Well, you are all a part of that. You inspire me with your questions, and our conversations are definitely things that spark new information, so and new exploration. And I hope we continue to do that for many years to come. That's the whole thing, right? It's a journey, not a destination. That is one of the big things that I really want to keep reminding all of us, is that it's the point isn't to finish, the point is to keep growing and keep learning, right? And same for the platform, right? Animal training fundamentals, you're not supposed to finish everything. You're supposed to just keep finding, new things to learn there, right? I hope it keeps you growing, not, oh, I'm done. Yeah, I hope you're never done. All right. With that, I'm going to leave you to enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time, and have a wonderful new year, and we'll see you in 2020.